Welcome to Speaking Highly with Jon Huck. I am your host, Jon Huck, and with me, as always, is Indy Fawcett.
How you doing?
If you like what we're doing, if you're a fan of the show, it would help us immensely if you could like, rate, review, subscribe, all that jazz on whatever platform you listen to. If it's just audio, there's a lot of ways to do that. And if it's the YouTube, like, subscribe.
Ooh, sound
very
effect
simple.
this time. I like it. So not smash, just...
Not smash, because smashing is violent. We don't need to smash things.
Right, that's not this show's shtick. Right.
It's not the show's shtick. And also, your computers, your keyboards, they're sensitive. Now, I know you're not, I'm a tech guy. You don't really know about tech. So computers, very sensitive, very sensitive. You know, I know about cables and tech and on and off and plugging in. So I think we've covered everything
you can solve
about
every
podcasts
IT problem just by turning off and turning on. Yeah.
Dude, unplug, replug, I can do it. But yeah, so there's no need to smash. Just tap,
Tap, subscribe, like, rate, review. If you're listening on the audio platforms, it really helps us for the rate and review. So we're whores out here in the YouTube lands.
You know, unfortunately, that's part of it. Today we are talking about the movie Bad Trip. I know I probably sound like a real like weird fanboy,
a very
or whatever.
Biased boy. Yes.
You know what? It is. Yes. Fine. I am biased, but I do feel, and I'll say this. I like to think that if you don't know what Bad Trip is, stop the show now.
Oh yeah.
Go to Netflix and watch this movie. There are spoilers throughout this podcast. Eric's been on Howard Stern talking about every possible fucking
Netflix.
aspect. It was
President Obama watched it.
But dude, which I just found out tonight, which is blew my mind that Obama's like, I'm going to put on Bad Trip and check this out. This is funny. But yeah, so it's movie, Netflix, hidden camera movie. That's key. Almost every scene is a hidden camera prank, and it drives the movie forward. It's a road trip movie, the same as Tommy Boy or Way Out West.
Yeah.
You know, Blues Brothers is a road trip movie. It's like in that vein, but with hidden camera pranks. I cannot praise this movie enough. Honestly, I did not expect to laugh as hard as I did. Our guest is the director of Bad Trip, Kitao Sakurai. Like I said, he's worked with Eric a bunch, which I would guess is necessary and I shouldn't say that.
Well, also,
I shouldn't say I should guess it's
how
necessary.
hard. Well, I mean, I'm just saying it as a fan of Eric Andre show, but also to wrangle that brain into logistics, into getting it done, it takes talent. You know, like in order to get the Eric Andre show out, like you need a team of people who understand that type of comedy.
Yeah, and we do talk about Eric a little bit in the sense that he gives off a very chaotic, like if you don't know him and you're looking at as an outsider watching what he does, you assume this is chaos and he just thrives in that kind of, chaotic environment. And he does to an extent, but he is a performer. He's an actor. He rehearses. He knows what he's doing. Like there's always hidden camera. There's always stuff that has to be left to chance. That just has to be.
There's a character Eric Andre, and then there's the person Eric Andre, where it's like
the person Eric Andre is a thoughtful, wise, very smart. Like he just a really good guy. And again, we talk about this with Kitao. Kitao has the same sort of personality in the sense that none of this is really like a mean-spirited, we're going to make someone look dumb, or there's no punching down. There's really just showing people's humanity and having Eric's character try to press that, I guess, to its
boiling point. Yeah, for sure.
It's boiling point. Yeah. It's, I mean, look, there have been other hidden camera movies. Bad Grandpa, which is very funny, is a hidden camera movie.
Jackass films.
The Jackass movies, there's hidden camera pranks in there, but those are not. Bad Grandpa would be the closest thing, just because I feel like it's the plot. It has a plot. It goes forward.
Right. It's a film.
It's a film. Right. It's a film movie. It's a film movie. The Borat would be another. And I know Eric, I believe, was talking with people who, like Sacha Baron Cohen, when he was making Bad Trip, and getting people's, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? But But like you said, I mean, to make a hidden camera movie that a president of the United States goes, oh yeah, I saw that. Like that has to feel real good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that it's a president that could read. Like it's not like you know what I mean? It's not like I made a hidden camera movie and this guy who eats his own boogers thinks it's the funniest movie he's ever seen. It's like, no, this is an educated man who we've seen give a speech, who can read a teleprompter, who's read books. This is a man who's been he's written books. He's been to college, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? This is an educated man, and he was like, I do think that's some funny shit. Like, dude, which is again, I cannot express.
Also, like, how does
that
like just to be a director of a film like that a president tips his cap to, like, that's gonna get you more gigs. And
yeah.
Just in general.
Yeah. I mean, look, and also, I did mention this to him a little bit, but Kitao's demeanor, like when he's on set, he is not. Like if you just walked onto set, you might have to poke around and ask who the director was, because he doesn't throw weight around. He's not like a fucking there. Well, there's not only is there no ego, but there's also no, like, you'd never know that guy was in a hurry. And I don't mean that in a way that's like, come on, motherfucker, hurry up. I mean, like,
well, when you're on a film set, it gets stressful.
Dude, and he does not give into that. He doesn't absorb that. He might absorb it, but he doesn't return it. You know what I mean? He doesn't get it out there. Was a really fun dude to work with. The whole process for me, like, everyone was so kind. Oh, thank you so much for your work. I'm telling you, I barely did anything. I worked really long days. I got a lot of steps in, but for the most part, I just had to make sure like 2 or 3 different people didn't lose their fucking minds, and then just kind of sit back and watch the
still an integral part, though. I gotta say, John, like, even though, like, you know, had you not been there, or even that, you know, PA not even being there, whether it be you or another person, like, could literally change what they've been paying for, the whole day. You know what I mean? Like, it's still an integral part. What, you know, be it small.
Everybody, and I would like to say that the Mark Accomplice team, however you want to label that, Griffin Pocock and Ray. I'm so sorry, Ray.
Shout out Griffin. Shout out Ray.
Yeah, but again, I guess they used 2 teams. They used a team in Atlanta and a team in LA. I only worked with the team in LA, but they did such a fantastic job of getting these people to their places, and the people they got, you know, there were a couple of them when I was like, oh man, this is going to be bad. This person doesn't have a clue. And then those people turned out to be, and we talk about this with Kitao, but some of the most genuine human beings that you're ever going to meet, with real life advice for Eric, and not in a cheesy or in a way that's like, get away from me, weirdo, but like understood that he was a dude in pain, because Eric is a good actor. You know, even when it's just chaos, he's not phoning it in. He's not bouncing off the fact that he's already got a TV show. It's like he's in the role. He is the character. And then we talked with Kitao a little bit about the other cast. I did not realize Tiffany wasn't cast until later on.
It's an incredible story. Yeah,
it really is. It really is.
Out, yeah.
Yeah, and look, I guess I won't take up too much more of anybody's time, except for, again, if you haven't seen the movie, stop this show, go watch the movie, and then come and check out our talk with the director of Bad Trip, Kitao Sakurai. All right, my guest, really, I didn't even realize this. I learned something new about you just by looking up your IMDb. You started out as a child actor. Had no idea.
I did. I sure did.
My guest today, the director. He's directed several things, but what we're talking about specifically today is it's a piece of art. Like what this movie is. It's Bad Trip, guys. Bad Trip. I've talked about it several times before. I've encouraged everyone to see it. It's on Netflix. There's really no excuses at this point. My guest is the director of Bad Trip, Kitao Sakurai. How are you, dude?
What's up, John? I'm great. How are you?
I'm awesome, and I thank you so much for doing this. But I really do think,
of course, yeah. Thank you for having me.
I do believe, like, I've worked. I started as a production assistant in hidden camera. I've written on hidden camera shows. I've produced, good hidden camera and really, really just terrible, awful, shitty hidden camera. And when I first heard that Eric Andre was doing a hidden camera movie, my first thought was, oof, dude, that is hard to do well. Because if you're doing a movie like that, that's just like a Jackass, like if it's just pranks and if it's just boom, like Kentucky Fried Movie, it would just be like boom, sketch, boom, boom, bit, boom, bit. But this was like, you guys made a movie where almost every scene is driven by a hidden camera prank. It feels like a movie. It feels like a road trip movie. Like it doesn't. I'm not watching. Like it's a fucking amazing blend of both, dude.
Thank you.
I worked on this movie for 2 weeks of my life, and I am so proud of the fact that I was just involved at all. I mean, take me through when you first, because you directed Eric on his show. You must have known him for a while. Take me. Who was the first one of you guys to be like, hey, we could do this as a feature film?
Well, it's a really like unromantic story in that I think it was it was like Eric's agents being like,
hey, good idea.
Grandpa just came out. It made like $500 million. Why don't you guys do something like this? And we were like, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. We should totally do that.
Yeah.
And then we sat down and tried to like write what our version of that kind of movie would be. And we just like were terrible at it at first. Like we came up with this like totally like movie within a movie idea that was just like not even a thing. It was like a totally harebrained thing. And we went out all around town and pitched this like really bad idea. And all the studios were like, we love the concept of an Eric Andre movie, like hidden camera prank movie, but like the story is like
it's not there,
unfollowable,
Right.
Yeah, it was like this totally kind of like Shaggy Dog kind of story of Eric and his buddy trying to like save Eric's grandma's house by like entering a local film festival and making like a film, but like with the people in the city, and like they would be pranks. But at the end of the day, the goal was to like win this cash prize, this film festival. It was like totally whacked.
But can I ask a question? Was the idea of making it a film within a film to expose cameras and have an excuse?
Well, no, the whole concept all along was to do a hidden camera prank movie. So we never would have exposed the cameras.
But if it was a short film competition and cameras were out and people thought films were being made, it wouldn't be as suspicious as there's no film contest. Or am I way off?
No, well, we were way off. It's like really totally hinky idea where, like Eric's buddy would be like filming on his phone, like in the distance, while the prank was happening. So we would like cut to Eric's friend shooting the prank, thereby justifying like the footage of it. But it was like totally terrible. Wait, let me try to fix the light. I have like terrible lighting in this office that I'm in.
Oh, there you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I can tell that's better.
I think it's better.
Is that better? Is that okay? Sorry.
I mean, I think you look fine, but I mean, that looks all right to me. Yeah.
All right.
I'm not picky though. What do I can't really judge appearances. Okay. So how did you, because when I came in, I was like, you guys had already gone and shot some stuff in Atlanta, and I had come in to help generate ideas sort of for things coming up. But how did you get to the road trip concept? I mean, people are like, we like Eric Andre, we like hidden camera, we like you, we like this idea, we like the idea of you guys doing this. This idea you have sucks. What else you got?
Right. So basically, we went back to square one. We're like, okay, we need a concept that's just easy to understand. And I think I was like, dude, why don't we just rip off Dumb and Dumber? And that basically became the conceit. I mean, there's a reason why, Borat and Bad Grandpa and like, the classic hidden camera prank movies have a road trip conceit, because you use that to hang the pranks and sketches on, so it's cohesive. And for us, the the concept behind Dumb and Dumber just fits so well. Like it's like the story of love, which is like such a universal theme and way to tell a story.
Yeah.
It has this road trip element. It has like a clear destination. If we stole, Bud's sister's car, we could have a bad guy that's like antagonizing them. It had all the right component pieces and parts of a really familiar story.
Yeah.
And so what we did was we just kind of, riffed on that and tried to distill it down into an even more simple form. Because Dumb and Dumber, it's a bit more complex than just like this guy going over there and bad guys. There's a number of like arts and
Sure.
Stuff like that. So we had to make it even more simple than that. And that's what we did. We just tried to make a really, really simple kind of universal story and a story that would fit Eric's persona and would have him, play well with like Rel's character and all that sort of stuff.
You did the thing that people joke about in pitch meetings, and when you go in somewhere, it's like they want something the same but different. So you gave them a very familiar, simple to understand. Boy loves girl. Boy travels distance with best friend in bad guy's car to get to win girl, and then you take that and the beauty of it is you're right. That's a tale as old as cinema. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the difference here is the insanity that ensues from scene to scene, and it's one of those things like if you wrote those scenes out and you hired actors and that was the movie. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have the same kick, like knowing it's hidden camera and knowing those people are legit and I feel like the public knowing Eric's personality and that he is not one to, like, he's not going to set up a hidden camera movie where the marks are all in on it. You know what I mean? Like, as an artist, he would go insane if he was forced to do something like that. Like, that's just not who he is. So the idea that you're seeing this and that the public kind of has that general feeling about Eric as a whole, it's like there's just something so magical about this movie. Man. I fucking laughed. I did not think I was going to laugh as hard as I laughed, like beginning to end. I was like crying, dude. So you get the concept. How cast wise was it you guys going, these are the people we like because Eric is friends with everybody, so he could just kind of like, come on, do this movie.
No, it was actually like a weirdly traditional casting process where we auditioned like tons of people for the role of Bud.
Oh, wow.
Like we auditioned everybody.
Are you allowed to go through names or?
Oh, I mean,
not because they had bad auditions or anything, but because they were just in the mix, and it's interesting when you hear like.
Sure, yeah, like we auditioned like Ron Funches and I'm sure like Felipe Esparza and. Like, I mean, just anybody that you would know.
You name them.
Like name them. They auditioned, and it's not that anybody was bad. And I don't want to.
No. That's not what we're doing.
To think
not at all.
But what Rel had was just this really, really special, nuanced connection to the character, and the ability to really riff and improvise and like. Once he was on and in the character, it felt like, oh, we were really seeing Bud. Yeah. In a way that felt really, really organic to Eric's character, and that just worked so well. But that said, Rel had never done hidden camera before, so he was in for like the surprise of his life as far as like how stressful and crazy it is.
It really is. It's hard to explain to somebody like I mean, Rel is an actor. That dude's been in feature. He's been around. He's a very talented actor. The difference of sometimes never getting a second take and having to be ready to go. Like there's no like, oh, we're waiting on lighting. It's like, no, they're walking up right now. They're here. The person is here. We're going. So it's like, there is a difference in how you prepare, what you have to, the mindset you have to be in and your general, like kind of wherewithal on set. It's not as lackadaisical and like, maybe as relaxed.
And not, I mean, like those things that you mentioned, like it's not only those things, but I would say the main difference is just this like indescribable feeling of stress and anxiety when you're waiting for like the marks to arrive or you're about to go into the prank. It's like, as a performer, it is so stressful that it's like an out of body experience. Like it feels like you're losing your mind. And, Eric and I, by the time we had shot Bad Trip, we had done 4 seasons of hidden camera pranks with Eric Andre's show. So, we had a pretty dialed in as far as like the psychology of going into a prank. But for Rel, it was like really going into the deep end. And it was hard. It was like super stressful. And I'm sure you've heard like one of the first few days we were shooting, like Rel and Eric almost got killed by this barber who like whipped out a knife
the
on
dude
them.
with the knife. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, that was the penis cuff.
That was the penis cuff. Yeah.
They walked in there with what this guy thought was their dicks out. He chased him out with a knife. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, we learned that day that he was looking for like what we later found out was his gun, and he just happened to not bring his gun to work that day, and so he like got a knife. But had he gotten his gun, I mean, like I don't know what would have happened.
Well, ideally, it was just to threaten, get out of my store. You know what I mean? Get out of my shop. Yeah, but who?
But I don't know if that would have like broken Rel too much, because at that night, and it's just like really fortuitous, funny story. That night, Rel called Tiffany Haddish, just to vent about Bad Trip and how he was going to leave the movie and, what a terrible experience it was. And he was like, talking to Tiffany, and he was like, oh man, Eric's going to get me killed. This is crazy. I'm going to quit the movie. Like, what did I sign up for? And he hung up, and Tiffany called Eric like right away. And Tiffany was like, hey, I heard you got Rel almost killed. And Eric was like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. And Tiffany was like, dude, let me be in your movie. That sounds crazy. So it was because of
So this was before she was
yeah.
even cast.
Yeah, because we cast somebody else who became unavailable. And so we didn't have Trina cast yet. So it was just this fortuitous thing where
That's
Tiffany
great.
was like, let me play this role because I want to fuck with hidden camera again. She used to do hidden camera back in the day. And I guess was just itching to do something like that felt like really raw and crazy.
I mean, and she knocks it out of the park. I mean, she is raw and crazy. Her character's insane. She plays it insane.
She steals the show. I mean,
it's
like every second of footage that she's in, and she just like brings it. It's so satisfying.
And every reaction to her is either like one of sheer like people are like overjoyed at her psychoticness, or they're like terrified of her. Like the parking garage guy when she starts smashing shit and she runs through the gate and the guy's like, okay, like just so scared, dude.
Okay.
Oh my God. But that's fascinating. I did not realize that she wasn't cast in the movie before that. That's great. But Rel stayed on, and I mean, look, they read like the best friends. Like one friend is a guy who's always getting into trouble, and one friend is trying to be on the street. I mean, it is a relationship that you've seen 1,000 times, and I buy it in the movie. You know what I mean? I don't think that I don't look at that going, oh man, they're really forcing this friendship. No, you know what I mean?
Right.
Now,
they definitely had chemistry, and we were going for something really iconic and archetypal. Like, our reference visually was from Behind You, like Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
You want to have like a taller, skinnier dude and like
the mismatched shapes. The mismatched shapes, yeah.
Like those shapes are iconic, and so we certainly had that in mind when we were casting. And
also like the character dynamic of two guys who are friends and would do anything for each other, but one of them is like to the viewer appears more stupid, but then when you realize it, that they're both kind of dumb. Meaning, and I don't mean like their characters are idiots. I just mean like Rel seems to be the one that's got his head on straight, and then all of a sudden he'll be like, "Yeah, dude, go get it," and you're like, "Dude, no." A real friend would be like, "We got to get out of here."
Right.
Like, so the fact that he's just, it is a very Laurel and Hardy character kind of. I'm not. It's very much like Laurel and Hardy. I agree with that.
Yeah,
totally, which is a timeless. I mean, it's fucking timeless. That kind of what is the phrase I'm looking for? But those characters are timeless. Buddy characters.
They're archetypal.
Thank you. Look at you and your big fucking dictionary. Smart guy. So before casting, you guys have your idea for kind of the. I don't know. Did you have an idea for the route it was going to take? Meaning, like, how organized was it when you started shooting? What did you have on paper already when you went? And Atlanta was just, I assume, because you were out of LA, you are in a place where people aren't expecting hidden camera. You're in a place where people might not recognize Eric so much. Because at this point, I mean, he's making the Rel was in Get Out. You know, I mean, you're using two guys who are very recognizable. Yeah. But was that going to Atlanta was part of that, or was it just tax breaks and how?
I mean, it was like the tax break,
everything.
And we couldn't really. It's tough shooting hidden camera prank in California because of the wiretapping laws. Like states have different laws
Each state
regarding
is different.
like what you can, what you're legally allowed to record audio wise. As far as like how many people understand and consent to the audio recording. And California is a two-party consent state, meaning both parties being recorded have to be aware and consent to the audio recording. Meaning that like if by its very nature, if you shoot a hidden camera prank in California, you are breaking the law. Yeah. Whereas,
Nevada,
Nevada, pretty much most other states, New York State, Georgia, those are one-party consent states, meaning that as long as one party is aware and consenting to the recording, i.e. Eric, the person that he's talking to doesn't need to be aware of or give consent to their audio being recorded if it's in a public enough context. So that means that you can shoot a hidden camera prank and not be breaking the law, which is important when you're shooting a hidden camera prank. Not be breaking the law.
Which really, I don't think people, I feel like some people look at that and go, "Oh, hidden camera, what an easy way to make a movie because you can just pull pranks on people and you don't have to pay real actors." And it's like the getting marks to locations without them being aware of what's going on is not an easy concept. And then getting them to sign off on it after the fact is super difficult. But everybody who appears in that movie where you can see their face, they have signed a release. If you see somebody, there are a couple of blurred faces in there, which always makes me laugh because that's somebody like, fuck you, I had a shitty time. And the movie people are like, well, but you were really good in this, so we're going to leave you in and just blur your face. Like, I don't know. There were a couple guys in there that you could tell didn't sign, but for the most part, all these people have to sign, and they have to be okay with being in the movie, and that is just not an easy task, man.
It's hard. But I will say, like on Bad Trip, like we had a really good release team, and we did really, really well. And I'll say this is a little secret. Like I would say like half of the blurs in Bad Trip are people that signed, but we just didn't really like their reaction. So we blurred them.
Oh, gotcha. So that way it also creates a little bit of mystery.
Well, you need to remind the audience what they're watching. And there's, like the first cut of the movie that we did, we shot with like a bunch of different cameras, and like some of the cameras we shot with were, operated like cinema cameras that looked really, really good. And a lot of the other cameras that we used were, kind of security cam, RoboCam style cameras that looked kind of shittier. The first cut of the movie that we did, we were able to tell the story and show the scenes using pretty much just the cinema cameras. But it didn't look and feel like a prank movie or a prank show.
Yeah.
So what we realize is that you actually have to kind of subconsciously keep on reminding the audience through the visual look of it that these are pranks. And so it's like at the top of a scene, you want to start with like a security camera style shot, or in the midst of it, you want to have something that feels kind of like rough and like you see the edge of the hide, or it's kind of like not right in a certain way. So you're continually reminding the audience that, you know, this is a prank. And so for us, it's like when we didn't really love a reaction and we blurred it, like if somebody was like laughing when they shouldn't have been, that kind of does double duty where you're hiding something that you don't really want to show, but also you're reminding the audience through the blur that like some people didn't sign, you know, like some people are like this is real. So that was something that we kind of figured out how to do. And we had a couple like secret little tricks that we got from like Spike Jonze.
Oh, nice.
When you know they were doing Bad Grandpa in the editing room, there were certain shots that he just digitally added like the edge of a camera hide. So just subconsciously you feel like there's something like in front of the camera lens to just give you that feeling.
It's smart because the idea of those, like a hidden camera prank in general, is when it's being viewed by a television audience or a film audience, whatever, is like they're in on it. The audience is in on it. Like they know that this is a hidden prank move. So you're right, to remind them is like a little bit of like, oh, here we go. Oh, we're gonna hide. Oh, hey, you know, it's like it pulls them into what's going on and keeps them, you know, a part of the whole thing, which I think is a key to that, you know, just to feel like, oh, this guy's going to get fucked with and we're going to get to see it. And we know something crazy is going to happen and this is going to be great. And like to be in on it is to be in on it, but then have the things go in a direction you might not expect. Like I think it startled people when he shoved his hand into a blender. You know what I mean? Oh. Like viewing people who were like, I know he's fucking with these, and then they're like, oh my God, Jesus, you know, it's like, what the fuck? Like, God damn, this is so funny. So funny. So you go, how much, this is what I think I wanted to ask before, is how much was written? Like, you know, you hear about Tommy Boy when they went to start, and which is a relatable, the same, you know.
Another huge reference for us.
It's like, like
obviously
rotund guy, smaller guy. Yeah. They're on a road trip. You know, chaos ensues. Tommy Boy is.
Yeah, we ripped that movie off too.
Dude, but in a way that I don't watch Bad Trip and go, fucking Tommy Boy.
No, and we did a lovely league, and Eric and I actually recently just met Peter Farrelly.
Oh wow!
And he was like the biggest fan.
That's awesome.
Biggest fan, and he was just like, he was like, I show anybody that comes to my house, I show the gorilla scene first, and like get him on the hook, and then I show them Bad Trip.
Get him on the hook. Yeah. Can I tell you that gorilla scene is the only part? The person I was watching with sat up and she was like, "Oh, I don't know." She was so I was like, I told my mom, I'm like, look, you know, yeah, it's a great movie. It's very well done. I don't think you're the target audience. And her response was like, "Oh, I don't have Netflix. I'll have to wait till I get to your brother's house." So it's like she's gonna watch it anyway, just because I had something to do with it. But man, that I think that's hilarious that Peter Farrelly's showing the gorilla, like, oh, hey, you want to come on in here? You want to see something? Look at this. I imagine you guys get that a lot since this movie. Just people who you might not have suspected were fans who were kind of coming out and being like, dude, really, that was a good movie.
Totally. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Peter Farrelly.
It's really crazy. Yeah.
But dude, also...
Obama watched Bad Trip and loved it.
Dude, what? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. How do you even? You know what I mean? Like that's pretty fantastic, man. I mean,
that's some reach. I'm happy about that.
That, I mean, first of all, it shows you that Obama really does have a good sense of humor. Do you know what I mean? For him to sit down and go, oh yeah, here we go. Like, and then
apparently he was like, like how it shows the humanity and everyday Americans, you know. Like,
Sure, he's going to put that spin on it that
Yeah.
is that sounds like,
Yeah.
man, this guy, I love the way he speaks. But deep down, he's like, also, people getting fucked with is funny. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
he loves Tiffany. Like, who doesn't?
that's true too. I mean, and that cast, really, what a fan, like just a really at the top of their game. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
they're all in like really
Absolutely.
highbrow shit, and then they're also all piled into this movie, which just feels like it just feels like a thing. Like and knowing that Tiffany kind of agreed to wanted to do it, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I want to put me in this. Let's do this. Like that to me is that to me is awesome. I keep getting sidetracked. I keep bringing up different shit. But when you went, because my point about Tommy Boy is like they only had 60 pages before they started shooting. They didn't really have a completed movie. And when I came into I wrote on the movie. I didn't really write anything. I went into a room and I ate cookies.
Well, you were in the room. I mean, that's how we write the movie.
We generated like the craziest ideas that I mean, I can't imagine another writer's room that's going to be that insane for me, But what did you go to Atlanta with? Like, what was the script? How much of it was like? Did you know the schedule of like we're going to shoot 2 weeks and then go back and write more and shoot some time and then go back? Or
we always knew that we were going to work in blocks because, as you know, hidden camera pranks, it takes so much pre-production and planning to do one prank. So you can't realistically go out and shoot 40 days of prank in a row. It just doesn't work.
You'd kill your crew. The crew would be just a miserable.
And by day 10, you would stop being able to get pranks because you would just be too overextended on the producing element. Also, it's super exhausting.
Yeah.
So we knew that we were going to do it in blocks. But that said, going into it, we had a pretty developed script. I think it was something like a 45-page, like kind of scriptment, where we knew the bulk of the scenes that we wanted to shoot, and we planned for that. I mean, it was fairly organized going into it, and Eric actually, I mean, despite his chaotic persona, really likes having pages and having dialogue and being able to rehearse dialogue. I think Eric is a performer that uses rehearsal and preparation to calm himself.
I mean, I would say that I bet people look at him and think that he just shows up and is just like a hurricane on set and then blows away. But the dude is like, I remember Byron Bowers telling me something. He did something for the show like a long time ago, like a live thing. And I was like, oh, how was that? And he goes, it is the most organized chaos I've ever been involved in. Like he goes, you think Eric just gets up there and like, if you watch the beginning of his show, it looks like, oh, this guy just goes fucking nuts and everybody shoots it and then it goes on TV. Like he is a very thoughtful performer. He puts time and effort into even when it's a character that's basically him on camera, it's like there was preparation for all that. There was never a just show up and go, oh, what do I do? It was like more prep than I've ever seen any actor put into a hidden camera ever. But also when you see just the musical scene, which I've never seen a hidden camera musical like that. I mean, that was just that alone, the prep work that went into just that was something that you could see that he meant business. It wasn't like he was fucking around, which again made for a much better movie, in the end.
Sure.
But so you had 45 pages, you knew you were shooting in blocks, and then Atlanta, when you say you went in organized, was it, and this is every production, and I'm not saying it was because you were in Atlanta or because whatever, but was it immediately like chaos, or was it, okay, things are going well, and then some, because I feel like nothing could have gone according to plan.
No, it was kind of both. It wasn't like we were humming along and then this chaotic thing happened and Rel and Eric almost got killed. It was more like the everything that we were doing had a very high tenor of just being crazy and stressful. I mean, like that is what hidden camera prank shooting is. And also, you know, it was weird because we were going to a place that we had never worked before, working with pretty unfamiliar crew, unfamiliar producers.
So you hired everyone in Atlanta? You hired crew in Atlanta?
Some people we brought with us. A lot of the Guerrilla Flicks people, you know, they got flown in. But then our local producers, we hired a lot of local people to, you know, and some people were great. You know, others it was like it was crazy because you know.
Well, hidden camera, like you say, from an actor standpoint, it's different. From a crew standpoint, it's different. If you've
Totally
never done
different.
it before, it can be very, very confusing.
Yep.
Because you're used to being like, okay, this is my job. I stand here and wrangle cable, and in hidden camera, no one can see the cable. The cable has to be away. Like,
Right. Yeah.
It's just stuff like that. It's little stuff that if you're used to shooting one way and then you have to do a whole nother thing, it can be fucking stressful.
Absolutely.
So your first chunk in Atlanta, you come back to LA. What did you get in Atlanta that first couple weeks? I feel like you got, because the first thing I ever saw, and this was after you guys had been to Atlanta probably 2 or 3 times, the first thing I was shown in the office was the gorilla scene.
Yeah, we got to the first block. We wanted to accomplish something big the first block, and the gorilla prank, you know, was one of those things. I forget what else like we shot between like the first block and the second block. It's all one kind of like hazy blur.
Yeah.
But the gorilla, the thing we got the first block.
Was there? Can I ask about the reaction to that when you showed it to the studio? When you showed it to, was there anybody who was like, what we can't. What? Like, was there anybody who said anything, or was it like, good job, everybody, back to Atlanta?
No, I mean, we had that prank scripted pretty early, so the studio knew what they were getting, and also it's like a really good prank.
Oh my god, dude! And anybody who doesn't believe that you would think that that's a real gorilla, like I haven't worked with that guy specifically, but I've worked with dudes that own those suits. The nostrils are wet. They move the same way. Those fucking guys are terrifying when they're in costume doing their gorilla bit. It looks so legit. It's really
they're super believable. Yeah, I mean, and that guy Adam, you know, was a great gorilla performer, and also you have to keep in mind from the perspective of those marks, they've been on a zoo tour for half an hour before that point. So they're walking through a whole live zoo, tons of animals.
Yeah. Something to remember that the setup for you guys, you have to let these people sit in a moment that's real. It can't be like, here's the zoo. Oh my God, is that guy getting raped by a gorilla? It's like, it has to be organic and feel legit. Yeah. But I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, it's true. Like, and we learned that early on Eric Andre's show is that for a hidden camera prank, both for the viewing audience and for the mark, it's really important to establish the normalcy of the baseline of the world that you're in. So if you're a cashier at a store and you've been hired to mind the store for the day, you know, as producers, we would send in people to shop at the store and interact with the cashier, and like establish normalcy. And also for the edit, for the viewers, you want to show this person doing their job and seeing them be normal and comfortable in their environment. And then you hit them with the prank. Yeah. And so that's what we did with the zoo onlookers, is that they thought they were on a zoo tour looking at animals. They were brought into this kind of like fence corridor between 2 enclosures, and they were brought in to like look at these wolves, these big wolves. And so they were looking at these wolves, and on the opposite side, the opposite enclosure, that's where this gorilla was. So they were in a mind state where they were thinking and believing that there are wild animals, these big wild animals in these cages. So naturally, the first time the first time they saw the gorilla when they walked in, it was kind of sleeping, and so it's like you can't really tell, you know, so it kind of establishes it in their minds. Yeah. And then you hit him with like Eric getting, you know, attacked by the gorilla, and by the time they turn around and they're seeing the gorilla, they're fully believing the reality of the situation. So we try and do that with all of the people that we prank, is that we, make them believe in the world convincingly.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just psychology, and I really like that aspect of pranks. Like I like that aspect. B, I think that I'm just like a sadist. I like doing that.
I was going to say, are you like a pain in the ass with your friends? Are you like tack on chair guy?
No,
Are you like,
no, not at all. Not
okay.
at all.
But you enjoy watching
in the art of it.
Yeah.
Well, I just like applying sort of like empathy and the ability to understand somebody's mind state and who they are. I really get off on being like, okay, I look at you and I sort of make a bunch of assumptions about like who you are, and your background and your upbringing and your perspective on life, and I think about how you would react to a certain situation, and to tailor that situation to elicit a certain kind of desired response out of specifically you.
Yeah.
Like, I really like that. It's like a weird thing to do.
It's a puzzle. It's kind of a puzzle.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to put kind of two and two together to make this person react in a way that you want them to, or you hope they will.
Right.
When you talk about empathy, and this is, again, I don't know if you used the same team, the same accomplice team, mark and accomplice team that you used in Atlanta that you used in LA, if it was the same two people. Ray and Griffith were the...
Yeah. Slightly different in Atlanta. We used an Atlanta team.
Okay.
But for 2 weeks of like what you were writing on, we used an LA team.
Yeah.
That we used a lot for Eric Andre show.
Yeah. And they were, the people that they got, some of these people were just, at first I was like, oh man, I don't know about this person. And in the cut, in the movie, it's like, dude, the guy who tells Eric to go for it and go get the girl, what a perfect, you're talking about like, these are real human beings that are like, oh, you got a thing? And this guy's advice was like, fuck it, dude. Go get her. You know what I mean? Like, and not in any, this guy it wasn't a cheesy, he was like, I don't care what you do. It wasn't a dude trying to get Eric away from him. It was a guy going, hey man, you look like you got some problems. You're bleeding from the hand pretty bad. You got some shit going on. And this dude, who probably wasn't having the greatest day of his life, gives advice. It was solid. And the dude who rode up on his bike outside the art gallery, that wasn't even planned. And that dude he just rode into the scene, like,
he just showed up,
trying to help. And you're like, stuff like that really does. I try not to be as like so cynical anymore and so, fucking society. I try to be more positive about everything. And when I see stuff like that, when I see people like that, it like really does restore my faith in humankind. Like, oh, look, not everyone is a sack of shit. Look at this person being friendly for no reason. Didn't have to stop. I don't know. I enjoy that. I like that aspect.
Totally. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's very cool. 'Cause even the car accident, that dude who stepped in to like separate them as they were fighting. that guy was awesome. Like these are like people that I'm glad they're out there. You know what I mean? I'm glad people like that are out there. I may never run into them, but I'm glad they're there because there's a need for them.
Yeah. Well, I like to believe that a lot of people are that way, and that, I think outside of, how we perceive people to be, which is very much, through the lens of a very kind of polarizing internet space. If you actually interact with somebody one-to-one in a physical environment and somebody's in need of help, like for the most part, I think I like to believe that a vast majority of people will do the right thing. And that I think that people are intrinsically, good at heart. It's just that, there's this phenomenon of, like when you get into your car, you might honk at somebody, but if you were there face to face with that person and they were blocking your path but you weren't in cars, you would never like scream at them at the top of your lungs.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
like,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah.
That is the kind of thing that happens like on the internet, and how we relate to people on the internet, and through, you know, like all these mediums and platforms that are designed to polarize us and get a rise out of people, because that drives traffic and attention. So we tend to think of people in those terms, but I don't think that's true. And I think that, like, you know, for us, it was important to show in this movie, like exactly that like people are generally good, and that, you know, like there's this expectation, for example, in the honky tonk scene, when they go to that country bar and do line dancing. You know, obviously there's this kind of like expectation, I think, going in as an audience, that like, okay, the two black guys going into this like honky tonk bar, like this is gonna be bad. And
it is, but not for those reasons.
It gets bad, but not for those reasons.
Yeah.
What you do see are people that are really helpful and welcoming, and you know, like see the humanity in the other person. And I really like that aspect. So I, you know, there's a part of me that's like very kind of like sadistic, in that I find it very humorous to kind of lovingly torture people. But at the same time, I also do believe that, you know, I do have a positive outlook of humanity and people.
Yeah, and you know, when like you say lovingly torture, like you guys don't go into anything with like it's never about like making someone look stupid or feel stupid. You know what I mean? There's never like, I've worked on some stuff where it was just it becomes a blame game. And it's just like, look what you did. Like, I didn't do it. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. And then you're like, well, cool. This is a fun 10-minute fucking nothing. But like, there's none of that in this movie. There's no, you know, no prank was designed to. There was some that was designed to make people go, whoa, that's startling. Like, this woman's in here threatening to kill, you know, her brother and whatever. And 5 minutes later, they walk in. Like, that was my favorite. The shit where it was like, they just kept missing each other because the reactions were so like, well, that's them. No, look, they're holding up the people. That's them. Like that restaurant scene, that diner, that was fantastic. That was Atlanta.
That was Atlanta.
Yeah. Those reactions were priceless. Those people were. Awesome.
That's probably my the scene that I'm proudest of, that we were able to accomplish that. Because you know, also by that point in shooting, we were really attuned to the fact that, you know, for us, a good prank is when you're able to get a mark or a person that you're pranking to drive the plot point.
To talk about it, yeah.
To actually like make a difference in the plot. Because like when you're just blaming somebody for like, oh, you knocked over the cart, you can't really. That only goes so far, and A is mean.
I was you already took it as far as it could go. You knocked over the cart.
Right. It's like, what are you gonna do? But if you're actually involving people in, you know, deciding whether or not Trina finds out where this car is or not, then as an audience, like you're really, really on the hook and involved in the like how this prank is going, and like, that makes it really, really fun. And generally those kinds of pranks where we're trying to get a person to drive the plot are pranks where it's not mean, and that we're trying to get the mark to be empathetic to Eric's plight and to like make a difference in Eric's life, like not to be too cheesy.
No,
but that's what works.
Yeah. And look, it's the same thing you did with the car, the garage attendant. You know, it was like, you know, you send Eric and Rel in. 10 minutes later, you send in Tim, but on camera, it doesn't look like 10 minutes later. But that person's like, holy shit, I just gave that car. Like, it's still fresh in their mind. It's like, it's just, it really, and they dispel the info for you. They're like, that was taken by a guy named Bud and a guy named Chris, and they looked like this, and they did that, and like, and her presence is probably what drives them to just spill their guts. Like, oh no, I wasn't thinking about it. They went that way. They're over there. Like, nobody wants to be like, hey, woman, stop it, calm down. You know, what were some of the What were some of the pranks that didn't make the movie? Did you use everything in like the
Oh no, there was
outtakes?
a lot that didn't make it in. There was a lot that didn't make
Is
it
there a
in.
favorite of yours? You don't have to talk about all of it, but like, is there stuff that you're like, because I mean, as a director, you were also involved in the editing process, correct?
Oh sure.
So there was probably, I mean, there's always stuff where you're like, man, I really love this, but it doesn't drive the story enough, or it doesn't fit enough, and we have to
Yep.
lose it. And that's always hard.
Yep.
And it's always, editing is such a fucking crazy process. And one of the most important processes, especially with anything that comes out that you put your eyes on. But what were some of the ones that you were really sad that you had to lose?
Oh gosh. Well, there were pranks that just didn't work.
Because there was no reaction?
Like the Chris Rock prank. Well,
because he was recognizable.
Because he was too recognizable. The one prank that I think went really, really well that we didn't end up using, but we released as sort of like 0.5 kind of footage is the exorcism prank.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where Eric and Rel. Well, I mean, it just was so tangential to the story. It wasn't set up at all, and it was kind of outside of the language of the kinds of pranks that we were doing. So it just didn't really fit. But as a prank, it was pretty good. Where they go to this motel, and Eric gets possessed somehow.
As you do,
because the hotel is haunted.
Sure.
It's like so lacking in setup. And then we got like various people to come in and like, kind of help Eric. And eventually we got this pastor that was like an exorcism guy. He like does exorcism. So he came in and did like an exorcism on Eric. And we had all these like crazy rigs where Eric like rose up out of his bed and like blood started dripping from the walls and like all this like freaky haunted house shit started happening. And this guy was really super on the hook. I mean, that was really honestly one of our most complex pranks that
because
we
of all the effects,
movie.
Because of all the effects that were happening
So many
simultaneously.
effects.
Yeah.
It was like
that have to look
crazy.
legit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to be believable.
Yeah.
And it just at the end of the day, it was like a really good prank, but it just felt too random and tangential. It didn't drive the story like in any way. We just had to gut it.
Did you use it all? Like, because you know how some movies will use scenes that weren't in them to advertise, so you're not giving away any of the movie. Did you use any of that in any of the ads for it?
No, yeah, there was some stuff that we used in the ads that we didn't use in the movie. Like we did. So Tiffany busting out of that prison bus.
Oh yeah.
that was the second time we did that prank. We'd already done it once.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. Where we had like it was too unbelievable. We had like a tour group
around a prison.
Around a prison.
I remember that footage though.
Tiffany, like we had this crazy setup where it looked like Tiffany burrowed up from the ground.
Punches through the ground,
like,
right? Like...
punches through the ground. So we had this tour group go to this prison, and they're looking at the prison, and like this alarm bell goes off. It's like prison escape. And then like Tiffany burrows up from the ground. And runs through this tour group being like, I'm going to kill every one of you motherfuckers.
She threatens them all and then takes off.
She threatens them all and like takes off running. And it like her performance is great. Like Tiffany was great, but people just didn't really buy it. It was just too preposterous. And also like, if you're in a big group, what can happen sometimes is that if one person really doesn't buy it, then like they infect the rest of the group.
Yeah.
So we just had a couple of unsuccessful attempts and so it didn't end up working, but like her digging herself out of the ground and her running past people like worked really well for the trailer. So I think that was used in one of the trailers.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I mean, why not? You have the footage. I say use as much of it as you can, Totally. And also I talk about like not giving away to the movie, but like I heard Eric on Stern just No, whatever. Spoilers. Let's talk about it. Like he was just, it didn't matter right away because
totally.
people, you want people to know that this is a fucking wild ass movie, and
Yeah.
it's crazy from start to finish. There are, 1-2 scenes max that aren't hidden camera, right? I mean, there's only a couple things that sort of move the story along and give you a little bit more of a Bud Chris relationship kind of connection. But for the most part, man, every scene is an amazing, well executed prank. The marks are there and they're fucking awesome, And of course there are, you do the car wash prank with a couple people who aren't so great, but that guy that was there at the end, what a nice guy, right? Just like trying to help, and that was one of my favorites too. Just what a great way to open the movie. Just clothes get sucked off, and you're like,
yeah.
And that guy was like, holy shit. I don't know. It's just
and that was one of the last pranks we shot for the movie.
Yeah, that was at the gas station. That was like one of the last weeks of the. The very last night was the shooting of the filming of the white chicks reveal. Yeah. Which was a really weird and funny, interesting night. Just people coming in there. I'm like wearing a tux, like trying to seat people, and this and this guy who knows me, he like recognizes me. Yeah. He's like, hey man. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Right? He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, just right over here, man. Just helping out, dude. I live down the street, so I help my butt. Like, just lying about everything. Like, he becomes such a fucking weirdo, and people are like, okay. And then, like, my wife was there, and he's like, oh, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, no, I just come to these functions sometimes, and then whatever. But it was really well done, man. I mean, I don't really have anything more to add, but except that. You should be really happy with this thing. I mean, I'm not saying
thank you.
You're going to want to only direct hidden camera movies from here on out, but because I do understand that the stress is magnificent. Not that the stress of producing anything isn't, but it can get really intense. I did want to show a clip of what I'm being told is probably the greatest 6 seconds in movie history. And it was directed by you. I think Indy's going to pull it up, but I think it's.
Oh yeah.
What is that? Oh yeah. Now you press play. You can press play, Indy. Well, maybe he can't. Look at that. Let's like Sasquatch put on. It's not playing.
I mean, I dare say that's the sexiest silhouette I
mean, dude, it's hot stuff. It's hot stuff. But anyway, for those of you that haven't seen the movie, that's 6 seconds of me cutting through frame on purpose. I was directed to do so.
Yes, yes. You were helping us establish this.
There is
Georgia.
I am in at least one other scene where I'm doing my legitimate job for the day, which is making sure innocent bystanders don't get pelted with confetti coming out of a cannon at a mall while they look at a guy dancing with mannequins or whatever was happening. Kitao, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And
thank you so much. This was awesome, and thank you for your amazing work on the film.
Oh, dude, please. I hadn't worked in production for a while, and that was just such a fun. Like I didn't have any I came in at the end. My responsibility was like, make sure Barry doesn't lose his mind, And so I'm just like shadowing Barry and doing whatever and like having a blast, So the pressure wasn't, there was no pressure. It was like literally, and then that last night was a party and then we went and got drunk. I was like, oh, fuck it, But I was just so happy to be involved and really, truly, I do think it's one of the best comedies I've seen in a while. Not just hidden camera, but like it's just well done, man. Like I really don't rant and rave about hidden camera like this usually. I feel like because I've worked in it so long, I'm like, yeah, no, that's really good. It's really well done. And I'll say things like from a very matter of fact point of view, but I feel like a fan, like somebody who would watch this fucking movie repeatedly, man. I really enjoyed it, dude. You guys just did such a fantastic job with it. So what's next for you, actually?
I've got a lot of things cooking in the TV world.
Nice.
Just like a lot of things that I've been developing like through the pandemic, and so now they're starting to kind of like heat up. and just kind of like looking for and trying to develop my next movie project.
Nice.
I doubt the next thing I'll do will be a hidden camera prank movie. I just want to do other stuff, and B, for me personally, I don't think I want to be like fall into too much of a pigeonhole.
Get the hidden camera guy.
This
Get
guy
the hidden
does
camera
hidden
guy.
camera,
Yep. Like me.
I love the medium, but I want to do some other stuff. I recently directed like a couple episodes of season 2 of Dave.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awesome, dude.
Which was like so fun, and there's just like a very new movement of TV creators and EPs who are like really embracing the idea of like having directors come on to really lend their specific voice to episodes. And so that kind of like episodic directing is something that I've gotten really interested in because of my experience with Dave and that kind of thing. So I think more of that and kind of developing my own sort of narrative TV show, whatever that might be, and just figuring out what the next movie project is like. I'm not rushing into another movie just because they're just so hard and time consuming and they just take forever to do, and I'd rather be like shooting right now.
Yeah. But I think you seem like a well-rounded and a guy who likes the diversity of different things you can do. Meaning, like the episodic thing is like each show is different. Each episode of each show is different. So if you're lending your voice to these different things, that voice will fall within that show, and it's a different challenge and presents its own obstacles and pros and cons and et cetera. But man, right. That's great, dude. Well, congratulations. I hope you continued directing. And,
thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Bud, thanks a lot, and have a great evening.
Absolutely. It was great talking.
Yeah, dude. Good talking to you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
See you soon, buddy.
Absolutely.
Yep.